Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Rowayton Town Hall. I hope that everyone is doing well as we get ready to come back to school. Today we are going to share some information about Rowayton School. I'm Rob Pennington, I'm the principal.
And I'm Nancy Karen, I am the site director.
Excellent. So let's get our presentation ready for this evening. And please feel free to ask questions because we will be able to answer them. Hopefully we'll be able to answer them through our presentation, but at the same time, we will be able to answer your questions if we don't answer them during the presentation. All right, let's get ready. Let's see. Oh, there we go. All right, welcome to the town hall this evening. And the purpose of tonight is to better understand how school will be different this year and to really understand the health and safety measures that we are taking for your child, and to also talk about the day in the life of a Rowayton student. So one of the things that I wanted to share first is the results of the reopening survey for Rowayton. And so at this point, we have 84% of families selected in person. We've had 14% of families selecting remote, and we have 2% who we have not collected that survey data yet, but we will have that this week. So that is a current up-to-date number of families that have selected different for their children.
All right, so as you may know from previous years, usually you would have received your class placement this week, but due to the circumstances, that has been delayed and your class placements will be sent home on August 24th.
All right, so the first day of school is going to be September 1, and that's coming up pretty soon. We are going to have a staggered start for kindergarten families. So last names A through L will start on September 1, and last names M through Z will start on September 2. So one of the things that I want to share is that we will have a new start time and a new dismissal time. So we will be starting at 9:15 will be our start time in the morning. And I'm going to be sharing in a little bit about a staggered drop-off for families. And then our dismissal time this year will be at 3:35. That is different than in the past. That is different than what was originally planned. We were going to be dismissing at 3:50. We will now be dismissing at 3:35. So that is just a little bit earlier, I believe, 15 minutes earlier. So we're going to talk about different protocols, and this is really the most important thing that we want to share is about, the safety of the children and our staff. So I'm going to quickly go through some of these measures, and then if you have questions, please type them in the chat box. I know that we have 131 families that are currently watching, so thank you for joining. And if you have questions, I know a lot of people submitted questions already, but if we don't get to those questions, please just type them in the chat box and we will answer those questions. So cohorting. So students will remain with their classroom peers throughout the day. I know that that's a big question that people are asking. They will be in the same class with their classmates. They will also have specials with those classmates. We will have gym. I know a lot of people had questions about physical education. We will have gym, and that will be outside. And then we will also have recess, and that will be 30-minute recess outside. And it will look a little different than what we're used to, but we will have recess. We will have reduced pullouts. So I know that that's been another big hot topic question was about pullout instruction. This year, teachers will be pushing in instead of small group pullouts. So different teachers, special education teachers, ELL teachers will be pushing into the classroom. Specials are also going to look a little different. They are going to be scheduled on a 2-week rotation, and that's to limit contact. So you will have the same special for a 2-week period, and then you'll move into another special. So if you have art, you will have art every day for 2 weeks. If you have music, you will have music every day for 2 weeks, and then it will rotate. So we'll talk a little bit about specials coming up. All right, safe learning environments. Like I said, this is our top priority. We are looking at 6-foot distant requirements in classrooms. All students and staff will wear face masks. So that is something that is a requirement. We will be able to take them off for snack and meal breaks. We're going to talk a little bit about mask storage in a little bit. We're actually going to be using lanyards. One of the protocols that I know a lot of parents asked about is no visitors will be allowed in the building. So parents will not be able to walk their students through the hallway to their classroom. We will talk about arrival and dismissal in a little bit. Every student will have their own supplies and device. And we will be operating on a 50% pack density based on the 6-foot requirements. So there are some classrooms that are large enough to accommodate a full class. Many of our classrooms at Rowayton School will be split between 2 classrooms, and we'll talk about that in a little bit as well. So mitigating COVID, every classroom is going to have a UV grade HEPA filter, which is excellent. We're really excited. Those have been ordered. They will be here next week. And each room has a hand sanitizing station. So that is definitely something that we are going to utilize, not to mention hand washing. Hand washing, and that's coming up, is going to be something that we will have protocols around hand washing. In terms of bathrooms and door handles, toilet seats, desks, they will be sanitized throughout the day. Bathrooms, a minimum of twice a day. Our custodians will be going in and cleaning those spaces. Every day there will be a health screener, and it will be reviewed and collected. So that's part of our protocol, is that if your student's riding a bus, someone will collect it at the bus. If they are coming to school, there will be a health screener that you will have to complete every day. It will be paper to start the year, and we will be sending a bunch of those to you. All staff will also complete a health screener. So health and safety protocols, hand washing, I mentioned, all students and staff will practice increased hand washing. There will definitely, our staff will be instructing students on specific information on germ awareness. And, illness, if you are feeling sick, please stay home. That's going to be important for us. We can talk about maybe if a student's not feeling well, but you still want them to participate, they can join remotely. So for potential cases, I know that there were a lot of questions about potential COVID cases. Rowayton has an isolation room for experiencing symptoms that we will use. There's use of specific bathrooms for the isolation room. Contact tracing, Nurse Essig has been trained in contact tracing protocols so that if there is a case, we will be able to follow the trace. Quarantine protocols will vary depending on the case. We will follow state guidelines. So I wanted to just quickly share state guidelines around responding to COVID. And this is a state document that you are welcome to look up or ask questions about. This one in particular is about having COVID symptoms, but had it does not have COVID symptoms, but has close contact to someone diagnosed with COVID. And so there's a specific protocol that we will be using that will be in line with state documents with the state documents. So example, individual test negative, individual test positive, individuals not tested. We also have, so these are all available, and I'm happy to answer questions in regards to responding to COVID, but, we will be following this protocol throughout the year. All right, Mrs. Kara?
All right, so transportation is going to look a little bit different this year. For students who are traveling on the bus to and from school, they will need to wear a mask at the bus stop and while they are on the bus. We are going to be very strategic in how we are loading and unloading the bus. So as the bus is loaded, it'll be loaded from the back to the front so that new students aren't walking past students who are already on board. Our students will have assigned seats, and we will unload the bus from the front to the back on arrival. We'll get into this in more detail in a little while, but one thing that will be important to know is that bus students will enter and exit only through the front door of the school. And I see a question here. Is the school starting September 1st? Yes, it is starting September 1st.
Which is a Tuesday.
All right, I think we're ready for the next slide. I see another question. Will this be available to watch later? Yes, this will be on the YouTube channel.
All right, so arrival is going to be staggered. We are going to be utilizing varied entry points, and students will have hand washing upon arrival. So here is our arrival protocol, just to share, and you'll be getting this in your mail with your start of school information, but we are looking to have arrival spread across the school, just like we've had dismissal. If you're new to Rowayton, this will be something new. At dismissal, families pick up at the classroom door. And so we are going to implement this protocol for arrival as well. And there will be three different locations, main locations, and 2 grades will be located at each of those locations. So an example, first grade students will bring their students to the door near the Garden of Life, and that's where they will drop off their students, and that's where we'll collect the health screener, and that will be at 9 o'clock. They will park in the front of the school, and for kindergarten families, they will also park in the front of the school, but their drop-off will be at 9:10. So that will stagger it a little bit for us. The kindergarten families will be able to bring them to the classroom doors. I just want to reiterate that we are using 6-foot distancing, so it's not going to cluster, but it will be, that is where families will be able to drop off students for kindergarten and first grade. In terms of second grade and fifth grade, there will be drop off towards the back, and second grade will use the classroom doors, and fifth grade will be using the gym door over by the Shark bicycle rack. And fifth grade will drop off at 9 o'clock, and second grade will drop off at 9:10. Yet again, that will be staggered so that we can break up the amount of people that are dropping off. And then third and fourth grade will be dropping off. They'll utilize the drop-off circle, and fourth grade will come first at 9 o'clock, and third grade will come at 9:10. So this is kind of the staggered entry. Now, I do want to say one thing, is that if someone is, coming with someone from a different grade, or you have multiple siblings, which is which happens at Rowayton, we are going to be flexible with, your sibling. If you have a first grader and a second grader and you bring them at 9 o'clock, we're not going to turn our second grader away because it's not 9:10. So there is some flexibility, but if we can follow these protocols, it will help with congestion. And this could still change everything. We're going to monitor this, the first couple days. If we notice this isn't working, we will communicate any changes that we have. But this is our initial thinking, is that we will try and break up the different drop-off areas so that it won't be congested. All right. Our classroom design. We're going to talk about the school day, transitions, the classroom teacher and paraeducator, remote learning, and mask breaks in this section. I'm just going to take a second and stop here just to make sure that I'm not missing anything. Yes, kindergarten students can ride the bus. I'm hoping to be able to answer questions submitted via Google form throughout the presentation. If there's one that I haven't answered, please type it into the chat box and I will make sure that we can get to it. All right, so classroom design. Our classrooms are a little bit different depending on location. So if you were to look, here's 3 different spaces. We are going to be utilizing our gymnasium. We are going to be putting our 5th graders in the gym. There will be partitions to break up the gymnasium so that it will accommodate our students. We will have technology, we have desks, we have everything that we will need. There is Wi-Fi, it is air conditioned, so that is something that we will be utilizing as an instructional space. We have some classrooms that will accommodate using the 6x6 social distancing guidelines, can accommodate 18, 19, 20 students. And then we also have some classrooms that cannot. So in some rooms you will see individual desks. In some rooms you will see collaborative tables. If the room has collaborative tables, there will be a plexiglass divider that will divide up, and there will only be 2 students at a desk, but there will be a plexiglass divider between the 2 students. All right. The school day. I'm going to let Mrs. Karen talk a little bit about the school day. One of the pieces that I do want to say is that we will be really focusing a lot this year on social emotional learning.
Yes, so social emotional learning, as you know, has always been very important to myself and Mr. Pennington. So we want to obviously keep that as a forefront in our instruction. So in addition to there being 20 minutes dedicated at the beginning of the day for all students to receive a social emotional lesson through Rethink Ed, we're also going to weave it in throughout the instructional day as much as possible. I'm sure you've heard us both say this, especially since from March on, but we really truly care very much about social emotional learning and really keeping a pulse on how our students are feeling, how our teachers are feeling, the staff, and making sure that everyone is comfortable and feels safe in the building. So would you like me to add a little more about the schedule, Mr. Pennington, about breaks and things like that?
Well, we're going to follow the day in the life of Malik, a 4th grader. So if you want to just take a little bit and talk about the day in the life, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so this is just an example of what the day in the life of a 4th grade student, Malik, might be if he had chosen the in-person instruction. So for Malik, he takes the bus to school. So he gets on the bus at 8:45, and when he arrives at school, he's going to hand in his health screener. He's going to turn on his device, and he's going to check in with either the teacher or the para, depending on who is in the room at that time. Then he is going to participate in the SEL activity, the social emotional activity that we spoke about for the first 20 minutes of school. The morning class is going to be, it's going to look different depending on the classroom situation, but he'll either be getting a lesson from the teacher, or he'll be working with a paraprofessional on independent work while the teacher is teaching in the other classroom, and then they will swap and he will get the lesson from the teacher or work with the para. During that morning instructional time, there will also be a mask break included, and we're going to go into more details about the mask breaks in a little while. Then Malik will go to lunch. I shouldn't say go to lunch. Malik will have lunch in his classroom. It's a 20-minute lunch. We will have lunches delivered to the classroom for the students, so the students will not be leaving their classrooms to go get their lunch. They will then have a 30-minute recess, and again, we're going to talk more about that later, but every day they will have a 30-minute recess, and they will be staying with their classroom cohort for that. In the afternoon, we're going to have more instructional time. Again, they're going to be receiving lessons from the teacher. They will have some independent work that may be overseen by a paraprofessional, and they will get another mask break. And then at the end of the day, Malik will either board the bus to go home, will get picked up, or may remain for after school care, because there will be after the bell this year as well.
All right. So one of the questions that I know that came in was around the amount of time with the classroom teacher if the classroom teacher is split. So I want to make sure that we highlight that. Split classrooms will be staffed by a teacher and a paraeducator, and the teacher will spend 50% of the day in front of each split. So if there are 10 to 12 students in one room, that room will be right next to the room. They're not going to be spread out. They're going to be like partner classrooms. And the teacher will be connected to that room. And so it will be a 50-50 in terms of teacher time, paraeducator time. So, and that's because if the classroom can't accommodate a full class with the 6-foot split for the safety of children, they will be split between two different spaces. And the teacher and para will work in tandem with one another, and we'll be looking at the instructional day in as we are planning with our teachers.
So transitions this year will be minimized. So they will be transitioning much less frequently to and from the classroom, and it will happen in smaller groups. So for example, the main transitions that students will be making within the building are going to be to the bathroom, to recess, and to physical education, which will also be outside. So our transitions are going to be very organized and scheduled so that there will not be crowded hallways. And our hallways are going to be one direction. So even if it's a little bit of a longer walk, we're only going to have students traveling in one direction to prevent, contact with other cohorts.
So bathroom and water filling stations, we will have bathroom break schedules, and that will be flexible, but we are going to try and create schedules so that we want to minimize the number of students in shared bathrooms. They will be broken down into different sections of the building. We have bathrooms throughout our school. So if you are a second or a fifth grader, you will be using the bathrooms by the music room. If you are a third or fourth grader, you will be using the bathrooms by the cafeteria. If you are a first grader, you will be using the bathrooms in the front of the building. And if you are a kindergartner, the majority of kindergarten has bathrooms in the classrooms. And for the one that doesn't, they will use the bathroom right outside of kindergarten. We also will have we are going to be getting water bottles for all of our students. And so for our the water bottles, we will fill them throughout the day. We'll have someone that will collect, we're going to label them, collect them, fill them so that they can get water. The actual water fountains part of a filler is turned off, but the filler is on. So we can't use the water fountain piece, but the filler is something that we can use. All right, so specials. Um, we have four major specials. And so we talked earlier, we said that specials will be broken up into 2-week cycles. And so art, library, media, music, and physical education will accommodate 4 grade levels. And then we will also be having implementing writing as a special, reading enrichment, math enrichment, or project-based learning. So, and those will rotate throughout the year. So your child could have PE for the first 2 weeks and then have a writing enrichment for the next 2 weeks and then have music for 2 weeks. So I just wanted to highlight what our specials will look like, because I know that there are a lot of questions around specials. So that is something that we will be offering our students.
All right, so I've noticed some questions in the comments about mask safety and mask breaks. So I want to give you a little more information about that. Our PTA has very generously offered to supply each of our students with a mask lanyard. They are breakaway lanyards, so they are very safe for students. And students will be able to attach their masks to the clips so that if they need to remove it for a mask break or to eat lunch or snack, it's not going to get lost or become dirty. So masks will be worn at all times except for when eating snack or lunch or when taking a mask break. The mask breaks will occur outside at least twice a day, and they'll be socially distanced. We've been very lucky. Our PTA has also been helping us with this. We're going to have tents placed around the perimeter of the building that will be used for the breaks. So even if it's raining like it is right now, we can still get outside to take that break and allow the students to remove their masks for a few moments.
All right. So for distance learning, because we do have students that are going to be joining remotely, the day will start off, Malik will have breakfast, and then he will log into school on his computer. He will participate in an SEL activity. He will then have morning classes, and he'll be able to participate in reading, writing specials. There will be, when it's time for lunch, if the student wants to join and have lunch with his classmates, he can. And then when it's time for recess at school, Malik will have a tech break. I know that has been one of the questions that really keeps coming up around, will they be on the computer all day while they are home? The day will be scheduled. They will be joining in the morning, and they will be participating in SEL and reading and math, but there will be breaks. When students at school take their mask break, that's a great time for a student at home to take their tech break, because we don't want a child that's going to be on all day long. We want to have breaks built in. Just like at school, we have breaks. And then Malik will participate in the afternoon learning sessions as well. So that's kind of, we saw what school's going to look like. This is what remote will look like as well. Now,
Yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just saw a question going back to mask breaks, how long they are. They'll be approximately 5 minutes.
5 to 10 minutes, yes. But mask breaks are 5 to 10 minutes built into the school day for all the classes. If a teacher realizes or feels that students need more of a mask break, then that teacher can have that flexibility, because we want to really base it on our students, and teachers are amazing at noticing that. So we're going to say minimum of 2, but that doesn't mean that we can't take more. So
Sorry. There's also a question about gaiters.
At this point, I'm not sure. I believe that they're okay, but I know that there's been different research on that. So I will get that answer. I can't answer that at this time.
Thank you.
No problem. So technology update, our K-2 students are going to get a tablet on the first day. It's actually a laptop. It's a touch screen laptop. And remote students will get those a day or two before the start of school, because we want to make sure that they have everything they need for the start of school. Now, we'll be using Seesaw as a digital portfolio and in K through 2, and we'll be using Google Classroom in grades 3 through 5. I also want to make sure that I share that in the next 2 weeks, starting tonight, there is Parent University. It is a really great idea that is going to be utilized throughout the district. Tonight, they're going to be focusing. Tonight, they will be focusing on Symphony Math. Tomorrow night will be Abby Maxwell, our writing coach, will actually be leading a K through 2 writing, supporting your child with writing, and 3 through 5 sessions. So there'll be 2 sessions tomorrow, but I can share that link if you're interested. I know the district sent out an email. Great opportunity. All right. Recess. I want to make sure we talk about recess, because recess is going to be different. And I'm looking at some of the questions. We will have a good, I'm guessing 30, 40 minutes or 20, 30 minutes where we can really go through questions. So keep them coming, and hopefully I get to answer them all, or Mrs. Karen will answer them all. So we're going to have 5 stations for recess. They will be separated by class. I know a lot of people ask questions about recess and will they be able to intermingle? At this time, the answer is no. Each class will go out to recess, which is great. We have stations that will be set up throughout our back area and tennis courts and field. We're lucky that we have such a great field that we can utilize for all these different outdoor activities. So recess will be structured. It won't be free play, because we will be playing socially distant games. Mr. Liberator, our PE teacher, is working on building up what those stations will look like. They will be led by an adult. So each of the 5 stations will have an adult, and that will be their same person every day, because we want to, yet again, keep the contact tracing and keeping kids safe. And so it will be 30 minutes daily. So it will have different activities, and you'll rotate between the 5 stations. So on Monday, you'll be at station 1 and you'll be playing a game. At Tuesday, you'll be at station 2 and you'll be playing a game. Wednesday, and so on and so forth. Right now, playscapes are not permitted for use. So I just want to make sure that I share that. They are not permitted. But we will continue to change the games, because we want to keep it fresh for students, and we'll keep going from there in terms of recess. All right, Mrs. Karen, you want to take lunch?
Sure. So our lunch is going to be about 20 minutes long. Students will eat their lunch in the classroom and will wash their hands before and after eating. Lunch, like we mentioned before, it's going to be, if students choose to purchase lunch, it will be prepackaged and it will be delivered to the class. There were some questions on the survey before our town hall about food restrictions. And yes, those might be necessary in certain cohorts to make sure that all of our students are safe. If we have allergies or whatnot, we want to make sure that all of our students' safety is a priority.
All right, so dismissal will be staggered as well. This is just like we have staggered arrival, we will also have a staggered dismissal. And this is our thought process at this time. It could change, but I want to share that we are going to have our pickup is going to be at classroom doors at 3:25. One of the questions that came up a lot was in regards to, what if I have a sibling or I'm picking up another student? Unfortunately, I do want to apologize, but just know that it's we're looking at this in safety measures, that you would have to pick up each student at their respective door. So if a student is in second grade, you would have to go to the back door to pick them up. And then if it was kindergarten, you would have to pick up at the kindergarten door. So I do want to just share that. I know that that is a question, and then we will have our buses leave at 3:35. So that is we do want to stagger the 2 dismissals, and that will really allow us, I think, to just keep everyone safe. One of the questions is before and after school programming. I know I saw that earlier. We will have before the bell and after the bell. One of the safety measures is that the room will be cleaned before students go to that room and cleaned after that room. And we were going to try and cohort students by grade and before and after the bell. So I do want to share that. And then Rowayton Academy is another question that keeps coming up at this time. We are not going to have Rowayton Academy at the start of the school year. We're not saying that it's going to be done for the whole year. We are going to put it until January, and then we will revisit. If something changes, we will bring Rowayton Academy back as soon as possible. I just want to highlight some of our days. September 7th is Labor Day, and we have different days built in throughout the school up until the new year. School communication is really important. We are on Facebook at Rowayton ELEM. We are on Twitter. We send out the Rowayton Reporter, which is a newsletter. And then some people have said they're not getting messages. I use PowerSchool to send out blasts. And so really in PowerSchool, please, if you're not getting, if you didn't get an invite to this event, please make sure that you email Ms. Carrera to check your account, because it is, there are things that have happened. Either a letter is misspelled in the email address or there's been a block. So just shoot Ms. Carrera an email and we will get that fixed right away, because we want you to be able to get all of our communications. Okay, so now it's time for questions. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to just start going through all of the questions that we have. And we have roughly, 20 minutes. So please, like I said, there were definitely questions that I know are coming up. So let's go through. All right. Mrs. Karen, can you look and see if you have some questions as well? So our school day, Ms. Tazi, our school day ends at, nope. Ms. Kopse, our school day ends at 3:35, but we are going to have a staggered dismissal for walkers. So we are going to start dismissing walkers or pick up at 3:25 so that we can balance dismissal. And it, like I said, this is fluid. It could change, but that's our thinking at this point, and that will allow our pickups to be picked up and gone before our buses leave. So that's really our thinking behind. That's really our thinking behind this process. So for twins, in the spring, we reached out to families and we talked with them if they are interested in clustering their students together, we will, and if they weren't, then we didn't. So So there are twins that are together, there are twins that are not together, but that was really a conversation with families.
I saw a question about the first day of kindergarten. Yes, you will be dropping them off at their classroom door.
Yes, bus students and drop-off students will be mixed in classrooms. So that is a question. We will be grouping our students, as we have in the past. looking for, the best setups for instruction. Our teachers are amazing at differentiating instruction. And like I said, if there are scenarios, there will be people pushing in. One of the questions I know that came up a lot in our town hall questions was around gifted and talented. And gifted and talented, we still have Mrs. Mendez full time, which is great. And she will be pushing in for some specials, and she will also be pushing in for GT, or even having some remote GT as well. So an example, we start the year, Ms. Mendez will be working with 5th grade as a project-based learning special. And then after she finishes that, she will then be pushing into 4th grade for GT. So it will look a little different, but it will, we will be providing those services. Great question, Ms. Van Amberg, about the bus. So I believe we are going to have bus monitors on the bus that will be monitoring students, and the buses will be cleaned after every ride by the bus company. So we have bus monitors that will be riding the bus that will be really taking care of students and making sure that they socially distance, they wear their mask, and then they will be cleaned after.
Miss Kerr asked, I apologize. I did the same thing as you did. Miss Copsey, did you answer this? Pickup will be at 3:25.
Yes, I did. That's okay.
Miss Tazi asked if students can bring their own lunch. Yes, of course.
Yes, they can bring their own lunch. K students doing remote, we will have a pickup 2 days, a day or two before the start of school, because I also want to have the teachers that are working with remote students, I want them to be able to put together supplies other than just the tablet. Okay, so that will be happening.
Oh, this is the question I was looking at. Miss Tazi asked, how is the gym going to be divided for 5th graders? So the gym will have dividers so that I want to say, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Pennington, but I believe that they said they're about 6.5 feet tall, and it will divide. Sorry,
yeah.
go ahead.
Nope, go ahead.
It will divide the gym into 4 spaces. I also saw that somebody had asked about if they were soundproof, and they're not. However, I will tell you, my first teaching job in Greenwich was teaching 5th grade in open concept classroom, and you would be very surprised at how adaptable the students and teachers are. And truthfully, you get so used to it, you don't even hear it. So I think it will be successful. We have amazing 5th grade teachers, and I know that they will roll with the changes.
Mrs. Schneider, yes, they can bring in backpacks. That is something that they can use. I know that was a question. Paper and manipulatives. So I can tell you for math, I'll talk a little bit about math. We are going to be giving every student their own individualized math manipulative bag, and they will be the only ones using that. So that is something that will be given to each student. In terms of paper, we are going to try and make many of our things digital or via workbook. So I know that for CKLA, we have a workbook that we will be giving students in person and remote.
Can students leave their laptops at school during the week?
So one of the things that we are looking at is if they're going to be getting a carrying case for their laptop to bring it back and forth. And so that's an interesting question. We are currently thinking that students will be bringing them back and forth just in case, we were to close, they have everything that they need at home. But that's an interesting conversation, because maybe that there's things at home that she could just leave it there. But that's our thought process at this time. Remote learning will be live, and so what we are going to do is we are going to have the camera only on the teacher. It will not be on the classmates. There will be opportunities where they could interact with their peers if they were to partner with a peer from home. So if I'm in a class and I have remote peers, I might partner with that person via Google Meet or Microsoft Teams.
Miss Boyce asked, will the kids have the same adult leading recess each day?
Yes, they will. It will be consistent so that they have the same person every day. So in the gym, all of the desks will have storage for them in terms of their desk space, and then their backpacks would go on their chairs. They will be monitored. Ms. Karki, will the teacher have a visual of the virtual students the entire time? So chances are that our remote teachers will also have a paraeducator. So there will be somebody that can help monitor our students who are at home, because we really want our students at home to feel, connected to our class, and also, get the same level of connectivity as they would in school.
And that also applies to the question, how will kids communicate questions to the teacher during remote learning? There will be that go-between, so that if there's a question, either the person monitoring, the paraprofessional monitoring, that will be able to answer it, or will be able to relay the question to the teacher to answer.
Virtual students will be able to ask questions. I'm trying to think. For students not in K, will devices be available, and will there be instruction on Google Classroom? The answer is yes, Ms. Kelly. They will. All of our students, K through 2, will have tablets. 3 through 5 will have Chromebooks, and so every new student to the school will get a device, and we will be using Google Classroom in grades 3 through 5.
There's a question about whether or not we have enough staff to accommodate this, and at the moment, we do. We are good to go. We have enough teachers and paraeducators to accommodate our proposed setup.
So, great question about kindergarten and toys and play. That is something that we are currently waiting for a directive from the health department around if students can use certain toys, and then they can be disinfected and used again. So that is something, that we're hoping that will be allowed, that we'll be able to set up. Anybody who has a Chromebook that's connected to that's their Chromebook. They do not have to return it. Most of our classes are 20. Grades will have different lunch times, and the reason that grades have different lunch times is because in school we won't be able to get them their lunch from our kitchen staff. So it will be broken down where there will be different lunch times and different recess times. If a student takes off their mask, we're going to be doing a lot of teaching around mask wearing and washing hands at the beginning of the year. And it is something that, this summer, Mr. Stowe, what I could talk about is this summer. This summer, we really did not have, it was a smaller scale, but we did not have that issue. And so we were really lucky it just comes down to, we will be spending some time talking about how to properly remove your mask, and how to have a sip of water, and how to take it off to eat your lunch, and when it's appropriate to keep it on and keep it off. And the teachers will be staying on top of that. We will not have any packets like last year. It will all, digital learning activities will be done digitally. So if they're doing an activity, that will definitely be something that it will not be a packet coming home. If a child gets sick with a fever, how will exposures be handled? Hold on, it's going too fast. Will all students in the classroom have to stay home until that child tests negative? So if a child gets sick, they would go to the isolation room, and then that child would be tested, and we would go from there. And we would work in collaboration with the Norwalk Health Department. Let's see. What protocol when students get sick in school and sent home? MPS came out saying 50% of family. Can you please share the percentage, or specifically for Rowayton? Mrs. Kemmer, yes. I shared at the beginning, but I'm happy to just, for Rowayton School, this is, let me see. Let's see if I can do this. Give me 1 second. Just so I can share that again. Let's see, share screen. There we go. So, perfect. So at Rowayton School, it is that we have 84% of families are sending their students back. 14% are remote at this point. All right. So I just wanted to make sure I reshared that. Thank you, Mrs. Petropoulos. We can't wait to see the kiddos either. Kindergarten teachers and those teaching reading will have clear masks, be able to take off their masks, etc. We are looking at, they have some clear plexi masks, so that when they're teaching the early foundations of reading, that they will be able to see their mouths moved and things like that. There is not an option for part-time. Do students who have issued a Chromebook during remote learning in the spring bring back? Nope, they get to keep, that's their Chromebook. Could you send a link to the statewide COVID protocol guidelines? Yes, if I can send that out in a blast. Given that these kids will be with the same kids all day, even at lunch and recess, how much thought has been composition of students in the pod? I'm not sure what that means. In terms of grouping students. So, we are grouping students so that we can best support them. And at the same time, having these classrooms that will support all students. So, that is definitely something that is taken into consideration. And we are working around, really to make the best classrooms possible. Mrs. Karen, do you want to go to let's go to the Google form and see if there's some questions that maybe we missed. One of the questions that I know I saw a couple times was band and strings. And at this time, we are still working on, we believe strongly in band and strings. But we are definitely looking to how that will look. So that's something we're still working on, but we will have band and strings. We're just not sure how that will look. It might be something that is done outside. It might be something that is done through remote lessons. So I just want to, I know that came up a few times. What else do we have? Evaluations, I know that was a question. I know special ed had a 4:00 meeting, but evaluations will be happening. It just, they will look a little bit different. They will only be working with one student in a day versus multiple students. So just want to share that. I know that came up as a question.
I apologize if this was already mentioned, but something I noticed a couple of times on the form was if your child has to be picked up by another family. They can be picked up by another family. That family would need to go to that specific entry and exit point to pick up that child. So in other words, if they're picking up a fourth grade student and they have a third grader, they would just need to go to both exit points in order to do that. And another question was about if students could ride the bus together. And at this point, we are not able to have students ride the bus together.
Yes, no, but bus is, very specific this year, and so there won't be flexibility in riding the bus. So I'm glad that you shared that, Mrs. Karen, because that is definitely something that is going to be important. High touch surfaces, I believe we touched that. We are working with Mr. Rios on fire drills and safety protocols. So that I know that came up as a question. And so I just want to share that we are working with him on how that will look. I believe he's reached out to the state in terms of fire drills and safety protocols. So I just want to share that information.
There was another question about, there's a few questions. Will remote learning be with Rowayton teachers and Rowayton kids, or teachers and kids from all over Norwalk? Our Rowayton students will be taught by Rowayton teachers and will be in classes with Rowayton students. And also there was questions about packets that we had utilized in March.
We already answered that.
Oh, I apologize.
That's okay. Someone asked about the stencils they saw on Facebook. Yes, we are going to be getting those at Rowayton as well. So our PTA is amazing. They'll be reaching out for your help. So I know a couple of people said, how can we help? When you see that sign up, Genius, please sign up, because there's going to be a day, I believe it's going to be Tuesday the 25th, and people can come and help to paint some of these fun outdoor activities for our students. Class assignments have not gone out. They will be going out next Monday, the 24th. So that's when they will be mailed. Not all students will receive lunch. You can bring in lunch, but any student that wants lunch will get lunch from school. So it's not all students, but it will be available if all students want it. But yes, you can bring in your lunch. So Ms. Kerr, great question about in-person learning. We are going to be utilizing a blended model, but for in-person, we are going to try our best to limit that, because we want students to have that interaction with the teacher. So there will be different opportunities throughout the day. The teacher, I'll give you a quick run through. The teacher might start with, if they're split between two classrooms, where they are streaming into the two, like they're teaching in one room and streaming in the room next door for the social emotional learning. And but then the teacher would teach a literacy lesson to one class and then go to the next class and teach the literacy lesson. So it would be more in person. So we are definitely looking to limit the amount of streaming in the classroom through devices as we can. But there will be technology used, but we're just trying to be cognizant of how much that will be. Yes, after school is still an option for after the bell. There will be signups for that, and we will try to cohort students for that. Sure. Question about SEL, Mrs. Karen. You want to talk a little bit about morning meeting and some of the activities that we will be utilizing?
Yeah, absolutely. So we will be, as we did in years past, we'll be using the morning meeting format, which is really about community building. And in addition to that, we have a program called Rethink. And Rethink, they're actually a pretty amazing company. They have mapped out for each grade level lessons that go throughout the year. Some example of topics might be if you're feeling upset or anxious, how you respond to that, making friends, things like this. So we're very lucky to have a program, not a curriculum, a program provided to us by Rethink. And they did really map out a curriculum for us in terms of the appropriate scope and sequence for teaching that throughout the year as well. So there might be a little video, there might be a little activity. Students will still have the opportunity to greet each other, to share. And it's really just all about community building. I hope that's helpful. Will parents have access to SEL to know what will be discussed? That's a great question.
We can share it because they have the at-home piece for Rethink, so we can definitely share that. One of the other questions were around remote learners. How will they be assessed? We will be using Ames Web, and that'll be in school and remote. And how much will they work on their own? In terms of work, our hope is that they won't be working on their own. They might have an independent practice, but they will have someone with them to help them. So they'll have the live instruction, and then they will have someone there to support them for their remote piece, but they might have independent practice. So I just want to make sure that we share that. Small group instruction during literacy, there will be small group instruction. It will be different than in the years past. We've done a lot of flexible grouping for that. It's just not going to be feasible, but we have a literacy specialist and a math specialist, and they will be they'll lock in with one grade, and they will push in and support small group instruction. So yes, we will have small group instruction, but it will look different than it has in the past. How many kindergarten classes will there be? There will be 4 kindergarten classrooms. Right now we have 78, I believe 78 or 80 students registered. And we're going to keep plugging away. And like I said, some of these things may change, but I really want to like I said, I want to reiterate, and I hope that we were able to do that. But one of the pieces is our goals for today were to really go over, our goals to better understand how school is going to be different, because it will be different this year. Talk about the health and safety of your child and the day in the life of the student. And I hope that we were able to go through all of that. I am hoping that we will have another one another town hall before the start of school, so that we can get into a little bit more detail. But if you have more questions, I hope I was able to answer all the questions. And we will keep working here to have a successful start to the school year. And I'm really excited. I can't wait to see students again. And yes, it will look different, but it will still be Rowayton School, and it will still be amazing for your students, for your children. Thank you so much. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out. Have a good evening.